Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. AC Milan 0, Manchester United 1. United through to the last 8 in the Europa League. Joining me, as always, is Joe Smith. This is the live review. Get involved in the comments. Get involved in the chat. Hit that like button. Joe, get me cliche bell out. Game in 2 halves. The second half, first half, pretty poor. Me and you, Mac, are on the watch along, just chatting about anything but football because it was that dire. Half time, Paul Labille, Pogba comes on. Second half, it is all about that man on the thumbnail that says POG-BACK. I mean, got his goal and was pretty much the difference between the two sides tonight. Am I right in saying?
We ought to be ashamed of ourselves, Jay. I ought to be ashamed of myself.
Preach, brother.
I think we'd all allowed ourselves to think, you know what, this is Bruno's team. And it is, and maybe it is Bruno's team. Yeah. But we don't need anyone else. This team can do it. We've got this. We need everyone. And not more than anyone, but as much as anyone else, we need Paul Pogba or someone as good as Paul Pogba. And when he comes back into the team, he's been injured. You think, well, you know, United were decent before he went. He just made the complete difference tonight. He came on, he got the goal, but regardless of the goal, even if he hadn't have scored that goal, he was the one who was creating things. He was the one who was carrying the ball up the pitch. He was the one that when we're playing the quick, short 1-2s on the edge of our box to bring the ball out so that we don't lose the ball, he was the one who facilitated all of that. His strength, his physicality, he was winning us free kicks at the end. He was getting the ball in the opposition box. He was taking men on. He was wasting time. He was fantastic. And, you know, someone in the comments there, it's Pogba and Bruno's team. And it is. You know, these are our best 2 players. These are our 2 world-class players that really stand out. I mean, Marcus Rashford wasn't on, which is the only reason he came off. Yeah. It's the only reason I'm saying that. Marcus Rashford very close behind those 2 as well. But Paul Pogba is a player of a quality that very few players like Paul Pogba exist, that have got the strength, that have got the finishing ability, the passing ability, the positioning that he has. And when you can bring someone like that on, who maybe he wasn't fully fit, obviously he can't have been fully fit or he would have started, but he can make the difference, especially in the Europa League game, especially against an AC Milan team that actually is a much improved AC Milan team, but not a classic vintage AC Milan team. He made the difference. And first half, it was, shaky and nervy, and you were worried watching the game. Second half, those worries just melted away. And you've got to put that almost entirely down to Paul Pogba. And I'm sure we'll get into it. There were some other good performances tonight, but he's the man, and he was fantastic.
Dylan says so in the super chat, you want to read that out?
Yeah, he said, I love it when Paul Pogba comes back for months and immediately shows us he's a class above. #POG-BACK.
I mean, Pogba was magnificent. We've said that, and rightly so. He took his goal extremely well, showed what he's about, that sort of composure and that ability to just pick that sort of setting himself, let the keeper sort of go sell him the dummy and then finish. You mentioned there, though, he wasn't the only one. In the second half, I thought in particular Victor Lindelof was outstanding. Yeah, I mean, fantastic. It was almost a flawless performance from him, wasn't it? And he's a player that, in a similar way but different, if that makes any sense, to Pogba has had his critics. But Victor Lindelof tonight didn't put a foot wrong, did he?
No, he was brilliant. And it sort of culminated in a fantastic flick away, almost last minute, free kick coming into the box, over his shoulder, and there's a man on his left shoulder, the ball's coming over his right shoulder, just extends a leg and flicks it away, guides it away from the shot of the AC Milan player. Fantastic bit of defending, but he was there all night, winning headers, winning tackles, getting blocks in. Victor Lindelof was brilliant tonight, and Maguire was solid next to him, but much like against West Ham, I thought Maguire stood out, and Lindelof also had a good game, but didn't quite stand out. It was the reverse tonight. I thought Lindelof really stood out and was excellent. Maguire had another good game. Luke Shaw, I think, has continued this fantastic run of form. Like, a couple of times where he's got his one-on-one with a man and he just steps in and picks the ball off him. You're like, I didn't know you had to do that. I thought you had to either come in with a crunching tackle or sort of jockey and shepherd him and wait till they make a mistake. So he just stood in front of him and then he just sticks his leg out, grabs the ball, pulls it back. You're like, I didn't know you were allowed to do that. So Luke Shaw, again, fantastic. And I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about Paul Pogba. But yeah, there was a few stand-up performers tonight. Dan James deserves a bit of an honourable mention. I thought he was wasteful with his final product, but again, did a lot to keep the ball, a lot to drive the ball forward. And, it's not, he's never going to be someone that drives the ball forward 70 yards and then takes a man on with a bit of trickery and scores. But if you can do the first half of that as a sub, as a squad player, as someone that comes in when we've got injuries, you've got to give him some credit for doing what he can within his limitations. I thought he was good tonight. And even Fred, who first half was calamitous, gave the ball away. And we were saying in the first half, we need someone to come on who can actually keep the ball, because the problem that happens is when Bruno plays with Fred and McTominay, when that's the midfield 3, Bruno's game is centered around giving the ball away. And that sounds ridiculous, and that sounds like whose game would be based around that. But the risks he takes, Bruno's game is, I'm going to make 10 passes, and 4 of them are going to go to the opposition. But the 6 I pull off will be putting our players in behind, will be creating chances. When you've got someone behind him, like Paul Pogba, who what he does with the ball is keep it and bring it out of the defence very well. When you've got someone like that behind him, you can have Bruno making mistakes and giving the ball away. But when you've got Fred behind him, whose game for some reason also seems to focus around giving the ball away, you can't have that. So the balance was so much better when Paul Pogba came on, and I mean that was plain to see for anyone, wasn't it? We've got a few super chats. If we can get the sort of back end thing on, that'd be good. Kansas says, people need to understand James is only playing because Cavani and Martial are injured. He's a squad player, give him a break. FFS, exactly, essentially echoing what I just said there. For the job that he's meant to be doing, he does that role very well. Who else do you think performed well tonight, and how do you think this game felt watching it overall? Because it like you said, it's a cliche, it's overused, but it was a game of two halves. United, poor first half, good second half.
I think, do you know what? It might sound daft, and I'm not looking because I'm trying to hate on David De Gea or whatever, but I thought Dean Henderson was very good tonight. And I think you can almost go unnoticed because did he have any amazing saves to make? No. Did he have anything where you're like, oh, you know, the guy's through on goal, Dean Henderson's rescued us? It wasn't. It was just a solid goalkeeping performance. And Dean Henderson came up for a little bit of criticism after the first leg with the goal that we conceded. People said he should have done better. He had a similar chance against him tonight. He saved it, which I'd expect him to do. But just the command of his area, the ability to know when to go quickly, clear it quickly, to when to hold on to it a bit longer. Also, his distribution, I thought, was on point. And I don't know, I might be looking into it too much, and I'm sure smart people than me will be able to tell you this, but the defence seem a little bit more confident with him there. I just get that impression that, especially for some of the crosses are coming in, the high balls over the top, they feel a little bit more confident with him. He reads the game a little bit better around his box, and he's more commanding around his area than David De Gea. I know David De Gea is generally a better shot stopper, but I thought Dean Henderson played very well tonight. And I think I can't remember, it was Maka was mentioning it earlier, he's got this fantastic record of clean sheets, a very good record of the amount of games he's played, the amount of clean sheets he's kept. People will go, well, you know, you're playing against the Lutons or whatever, but that's not been the case for the last few months. Recently, when he's been playing against Premier League teams. He's been playing against, all right, Europa League teams, but good Europa League teams tonight in AC Milan.
The second best team in Italy.
Thank you. So he deserves credit because whilst it's not an 8 out of 10 or anything, it's a solid 7. And sometimes you just need that. And he did what he had to do, and he did it well. So for me, he gets a little bit of a mention there. He deserves a mention, sorry. And, you know, Harry Maguire, it's easy to go Victor Lindelof. Harry Maguire did his job as well, very commanding in the air, marshalled the AC Milan attack, especially when Zlatan came on. They were having a bit of a battle, which was good to see, especially because, you know, we won it. We kept the clean sheet. So it was a much better all-round team performance in the second half in particular. But defensively, I was particularly impressed with our centre-backs and our goalkeeper.
Yeah, and there's a bit going on with Dean Henderson. Abhishek there says, does this prove Dean Henderson should be our first choice? I think what it proves is that we've got a goalkeeper that does different things to De Gea. And like you said, it sometimes, and I've said it in the past, it's hard to sort of show what he does that leads to these clean sheets. And, you know, Romero used to have a sensational clean sheet record for United, and that is largely because he was playing in the Cups and, you know, the European competition occasionally. But like you said, the last 4 or 5 games have been in the league, and, you know, AC Milan isn't a walk in the park. They're not, you know, Ludogorets or... the like. They're a top European team who on any given season could be in a Champions League quarter-final. So the fact that he has got these clean sheets isn't meaningless. And tonight there was a point, I think it was about the 85th minute, 89th minute, somewhere toward the end of the game. The ball comes in the box and, you know, the defenders are looking for it, the defender's looking for it, and all of a sudden the defenders stop looking for it, and Dean Henderson just comes, claims it, no problems, no questions asked, not a big fuss, not tipping it over, not stood on his line, not making Maguire have to try and head it out to the 20-yard line for an AC Milan player to have a shot. None of that. And again, there isn't a stat for chances you've prevented. There is no stat for here's what AC Milan would have done if he hadn't have come out, because we can't predict that. But what you do see when you're watching the game is a sense of calm amongst the defence and a sense of calm amongst us as fans, where you're watching it and you're going, that ball's in the box, Hendo will get that. That ball's in the box, Hendo will get that one. And there's one against West Ham the other day where he had to come through 3 players to punch it out and look like he might have injured himself and Maguire and the West Ham player, or all 3. Everyone was fine. But That's the sort of thing if you're an attacker, and I know the ball's coming up in the air. I've got a blind goal this side, and I've got Henderson in the net. I'm thinking he's coming for this, so I've either got to check him out, try and go for the ball, or worry about both. If that's Henderson, if that's someone else in the net, if that's De Gea, maybe again, I don't want this to be a Henderson versus De Gea thing. If that's a goalkeeper that doesn't come out for those, all I'm thinking is, where's the defender? If I beat him, I've got a header on goal. And when Henderson's in the net, opposition attackers don't get to think that. They have to think about all of those things. And, and he's very good at it. And that, like I'm saying, that time tonight, he just comes up, collects the ball, the game is calm, and United can sort of stroll to a win without any real problems. But yeah, I think he was excellent. And like you said, maybe a 7 out of 10, no real outstanding points, but there's no stat for chances that you prevented from happening.
No, absolutely. I think as well, like you looked at the team, the setup, and it kind of made sense for me. We were talking before the game, and I don't think there was any surprises. Paul Pogba's not fit enough to start. We haven't really got many options up front, so there's no surprise. He's gone with James Greenwood and Marcus Rashford. A few people wanted to see Amad Diallo, but I think we do have to sort of temper our expectations. And with Diallo and the way we handle him, bring him in gradually, just from a physical point of view. He's only a kid who's played barely.
He's very slight as well.
He's very
tiny.
slight. He's not played any professional football, as to speak of. I think he's played about 150 minutes worth. Yeah. So you can't just keep throwing him in and expecting the world from him. I think it's very careful or very important that we handle him carefully. But I think that Ollie got his tactics right. One of people say we don't criticise Ollie enough, or we don't criticise Ollie. We do. And one of the things that we criticise him for, when he deserves criticism, is his in-game management. Can let him down at times. There's been times when I've been really baffled and frustrated by some of the decisions he's made tactically during a game. But he got it spot on tonight. Marcus obviously wasn't fit. Started him because he probably needed to start him because he didn't have any other options and he couldn't start Paul Pogba. Brings on Paul Pogba at the earliest opportunity, which was half-time. Paul Pogba absolutely sort of changes the game, playing on that left-hand side, obviously deeper than what Marcus was. And it's an all-round good team performance in that second half. And I think that whilst we criticise Ollie when he gets it wrong tactically, you can argue it's not the most insightful or revelatory tactic to bring on Paul Pogba for a tied Marcus Rashford, but it worked. It made sense, and it was a good, solid 1-0 win away at Milan in the San Siro, which could have been quite easily tonight a difficult game, quite easily a game where it goes to extra time or we get knocked out. And he's dealt with it, and he's dealt with it in the right way. We've got a good, solid win, and now we go into the Leicester game with our tails up. We're still in the Europa League. We're still second in the league, and we go into this game, obviously in the FA Cup quarter-final, with another chance of silverware, and I think that Ollie deserves credit for that. I mean, it's not a tactical masterclass, I'm not saying that, but when he gets it right, he deserves applauding for getting it right.
Yeah, definitely. And it's let's not overlook winning the San Siro. No. That is never easy. And when you look at Europa League games, and that's the competition we're in terms of a tie, AC Milan is about as difficult as it gets in this cup.
Yeah, of course.
And it's about as difficult as it gets, pretty much anywhere in Europe, other than those sort of real elite of the elite teams where there's a handful of them. AC Milan are always going to be a difficult game. Winning this in the San Siro is always going to be a difficult thing to do. And whilst it was only 1-0, and whilst it was, a goal away from extra time and all that sort of thing, I thought United handled themselves very well. I thought United were the way they played was quite a relaxing way to watch second half. First half was cagey and edgy and giving the ball away, no good. But second half, I thought, you know what? I think we're going to be all right here. And we were. We've got a super chat. If we could just scroll up a touch to see who it's from. But he said, totally agree with Joe. If Paul Labille leaves, we absolutely have to go all out for Grealish, I think, before any other position. That's from Detwork. I agree. If Pogba does go this summer, which he very well may do, we have to replace him. I think tonight has proven that, if nothing else.
Yeah, 100% no-brainer.
Yeah. Matt Harrison says, AWB takes on a 2v1 against Zlatan, my right back. Yeah, he was good tonight, I think, Wan-Bissaka defensively. Abhishek as well said, does this prove Henderson should be our first choice? I answered that one before. Maybe it does. Andrew Stewart, Henderson 18 games, 11 clean sheets. De Gea 29 games, 10 clean sheets. Again, some of that, or maybe a lot of that, is down to the opposition they both face. Henderson largely a cup competition goalkeeper. But yeah, it's obviously they are still the stats, aren't they? Abdul Ibrahim, very happy with the win and the way we managed the second half, especially late on. A very good away win against a very good team. Bring on Leicester. And John Shin, friend of the show, friend of us, has said, put some damn respect on Paul Pogba's name. The man needed Bruno to join this side to wake up. And when Pogs was out, Bruno and co needed him back. The level up was clearly evident once Paul Pogba came on. And let's not forget something else as well. I know he was injured and it wasn't his best half, but not only did Paul Pogba come back on, Paul Pogba had to take the place and improve on what Marcus Rashford was doing as well, which is no mean feat in and of itself, is it? So it's very impressive how good Paul Pogba was. And Mega Cheeks says, do you think, looking at the Ibra chance, if that was Maguire, it would have been given as a foul? Look at the Burnley game.
Don't get me started on that Burnley game. That was one of the most ridiculous decisions I've ever seen. I mean, the Sheffield United game wasn't far behind it in terms of that foul. The Lascelles Martial's goal, but the Burnley game was shocking. Just a good header that was given as a foul for reasons that are still beyond me. I'm going to wrap it up there. Joe, if you had to choose, is there someone that you're looking at, you're thinking, I wouldn't mind a game against them in the next round? Is there a team that you've sort of got your eye on? A learned man like you?
To be honest,
Europe's connoisseurs?
Give me Ajax.
Yeah.
I don't want. I mean, Granada or whoever would be nice. But in terms of getting excited, getting fired up, seeing what level this team is at, give me Ajax all day long. The biggest tie possible. Can we get English teams in the quarterfinal?
I'm not sure. I think we probably had the Scousers, didn't we, in the quarters? Was it the quarters or last 16 a few years ago?
Yeah. Give me Ajax or Roma or Arsenal. Give me a big.
You feel like that? I don't want Arsenal. I'm not going to lie to you. Not I'm scared of it. I just think it's got that sort of feeling where it's like the quarters and Arsenal. This could be a bit of a funny one. Ajax feels like that could be a Champions League game. Like tonight, AC Milan versus United feels like a Champions League game, doesn't it? Ajax, we played him in the Europa before, of course. Played him in the final. Big game. I wouldn't mind seeing that as well because I'd like to see what Ajax are about. Would Van der Beek get a start as well? Would he get
potentially? Ollie likes a little return, doesn't it? Just before we go, Shade Delane says, could Pogba be the difference between second and third? I mean, I think he's going to be the difference between us winning some points and losing some points. So yeah, could well be that.
Yeah, 100%. It's all been about Paul Labile Pogba tonight. He came on at half time. He made a difference. Man got the goal. Straight away, within a minute. Manchester United through to the quarterfinals of the Europa League, Europe's premier competition. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Worth mentioning as well, the draw for the next round is tomorrow at 11 a.m. We'll have all the coverage here on Stretford Paddock, so make sure you check that out. And give the video a like as well. Let's see if we can get 2,000 likes on the video.
2,000 likes. Give us a like. If you're not subscribing to the channel, make sure you subscribe. If you're not checking him out on socials, go and check him out. Joe Smith 93. You know where to find me. I've been Jay. That's been Joe. This has been the Stretford Paddock live review. Thanks for watching.